Intuition, by definition, is a thought before your brain overcomplicates it. I believe intuition is the roadmap to your personal happiness and success. Allow this awesome conversation to inspire you to just be more of you. I'm your host, Jimmy Ward Mize, and welcome to Inspired by Jimmy L.
There it is. All righty. Good day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Welcome to another positivity conversation. This is episode 15. Oh my gosh. It's 15 weeks in the making. Like, this is kind of weird. But here we are. Today's guest, his name is Mr. Joe Vulgamore. He's a teacher, and I wanted to bring him on to kind of get his insight, his mindset into his world. And I got a strange feeling that we're about to get a lot of nuggets, a lot of knowledge from this man. So, Professor J, I'm going to start with that. Professor J, would you please, by all means, introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you.
I've been watching and I really dig it, and there's a lot of value there for people, so that's awesome. So thank you again for having me on. My name's Joe Vulgamore. I am a professor. Well, I'm not a professor. I'm an instructor at a college. Professor J was a joke about some students, but I'm an instructor at Del Mar College here in Corpus Christi, Texas. I teach some interpersonal communication courses, leadership development, and business ethics. I'm also a high school teacher. I teach at one of the local high schools here in Corpus Christi, and I work with underprivileged, at-risk kids and helping them learn to pull it together and move forward and achieve success
and risk kids. Now, honestly, when we spoke about that right before the recording, I thought you were dealing with mentally disabled kids is what I really thought you were going toward, but that's not it.
No, they're not. No, they're what they are is they come from underprivileged families. Sometimes they don't have adult figures around. Sometimes the term at risk is a very broad term in the education world. But mainly it means that there's a chance that they're at risk for not completing high school due to something going on in their personal lives or I mean, it can be a whole myriad of things, but a lot of it boils down to their home lives and the things that go on there and the stuff that they don't really have any control over, which causes behavioral issues. And then when they have behavioral issues, that's when they come to us. And I work with an awesome team of people who actually really care about these kids and are doing everything possible to try to help these kids get everything back on track and get.
So, did you just fall into that, or you just woke up one day and said, "This is what I want to do"? Or, like, what happened with that? I just got to know before I move on.
Well, no, it's been an evolution over time. Whenever I was younger, whenever I was in my after high school, I went into the Army, and that's where I got my first leadership position and was trained in leadership skills and those kinds of things, not just the job stuff, but the soft skills that come along with it, the communication parts of it and everything. After I got out of the military, everything that I started doing after, no matter what job field I went into some high level security stuff for a while, which evolved into safety, which evolved then into emergency and disaster management type work. And when I kind of burn out on all of that kind of stuff, I became a life coach. And then I retired from life coaching after burning out there as well. And but I have always, the entire time, I was always in leadership positions. I always enjoyed teaching. I was always in positions to give instruction for classes and courses. I became a certified instructor through FEMA back whenever I worked for the state doing emergency management stuff. And so I was always teaching along the way. And so whenever I got to a certain point here, well, I guess I kind of did make up my mind. I just said, you know what, I want to try teaching. I've got some great programs, and maybe I can get them in at my community college for the continuing education department, and that's what I did. I took my leadership development programs and went to the school, and I started working with some awesome people at the college, and we tailored the programs, tweaked them here and there so that they would fit academic standards, and then now I teach them at a college, and
go ahead.
yeah, and then the high school thing that started out I started out as a substitute, just wanting to substitute here and there, just extra cash when I had time and days off or whatever, those kinds of things, and I just fell in love with that, and I fell in love with those kids and that I work with over there, and all the people in that line of work, and then so I have to do it now. I'm stuck there now,
man.
so I got hired on, permanently and that kind of thing, and full time permanently, and it mixes with the college because I teach at night at the college, so it works out. It works out. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know if I have the patience. And what I'm going to applaud, and I mean right, like straightforward, I know I wouldn't have the patience to deal with FEMA. I wouldn't have the patience to deal with the Red Cross. I know I would not have the patience to deal with children. I don't have the patience to deal with most adults.
Right. Well, they can work a
gosh.
nerve. Trust me, they can work a nerve. That's a fact. But you try to stay emotionally intelligent about the whole thing, and you realize that these kids, whatever goes on with them, it's they're reacting in the only way that they know how at that particular point, because they've not been shown a better way. And so when you keep that in mind, it makes it a little easier to deal with.
But I will say, what I love that you said though is that it's something that you have to do, and what I'm learning now I've been a jack of all trades for years, okay, flat out years. And what I've learned is, just learned maybe 6 months to a year ago, that the only reason why I was able to be a jack of all trades is because I have great communication skills. I'm a perfect person to build a relationship with because I'm honest. My morals are always in check. My intentions are going to forever be pure. And whatever they are, I have no problem articulating them to you. And that quickly builds trust when you're just simply being honest with the person. Like, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
But I love that.
It's key to everything.
But everyone doesn't have that ability. Everyone can articulate. Everyone can build a relationship. And I'm now falling into line as to what I'm supposed to do. I'm just now falling in line as to saying, hey, this talk show, this communication thing, this is for me. This is what makes me come alive. And so I'm with you. Like, I have to do it. I did 2 other interviews, and then I have another one this evening at 10 p.m. I'm done with 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, I don't care.
Sure.
Like, it's what I have to do. Like, this is messages that have to get out there. So I freaking applaud you. I applaud you for that.
And when it becomes something that you have to do, I'm sure you'll agree, it becomes a part of you, and then it's not about it's not work anymore. It's about it's about the difference that you can make, and the value that you bring to the table, and when you can pass that value on
to somebody else.
It's just, that's the coolest.
I'm like, dude, I'm learning. Joe, I'm learning every day. I promise you I'm learning. I want to go back for a really quick second. Like, I try to stick on positivity things, and I'm going to get to your mindset in just a second.
Sure.
But one thing that really stood out to me on your page, and I was really surprised that you just mentioned it, but you were a former life coach. We all know that everyone, and their cousins and brothers and sisters, everyone is following this path of being a quote-unquote life coach. Craziest thing I've ever seen. I do not have any intentions on ever coaching anyone on anything. I cannot believe that you are no longer a former coach. Like, what made you get out of that? Like, why?
Well, that's, I'm probably going to upset some people here with this, but I'm going to be honest, because I believe that's the way that I should be.
Please, by all means.
Coaching isn't, extremely oversaturated market because, like you said, everybody and their mother and their brother and their uncle, sister, and all of that kind of stuff, want to be a life coach. Anybody who's had a traumatic experience at any point in their life suddenly wants to be a life coach. Well, guess what? Everybody's had a traumatic experience somewhere.
Exactly.
In their life.
Yeah.
And, people think it's glamorous. They see Tony Robbins out there, or they see they see one of the other big name people out there, Gary V, or they see Simon Sinek, or they see somebody out there, some of these big guys out there, and they think, yeah, this is the glamorous life. But when they actually start to become a coach, what they don't realize is that 80% of your time is spent marketing, figuring out how you're going to sell yourself, trying to get in front of the right people, spending all this time on consultations that, don't pan out. Or when they do pan out, then you're spending only 10% of your actual time coaching the client. And a lot of people think that's good. And a lot of people like to chase clients and those kinds of things. And and a lot of people are into the marketing part of it. And they kind of, they enjoy it, and that's all great and good. And they enjoy making those connections with people. But to me, the connections that I always wanted to make was more about the impact. It was always more about the actual coaching process itself. And I've been an entrepreneur before. I've owned a magazine, I've owned a recycling company, and I have been a life coach. And nowhere have I had to work so hard to bring in business as being a life coach. And that's because, it's so oversaturated. People are cutting people's heads off. You got all the coaches who coach coaches telling you to double your prices, triple your prices, and those kinds of things, because that's what they're doing. And then they get life coaches who bite in on that, right? Yeah. And it actually, the reality of it is the only coaches that are making money are coaches who coach coaches. Because the life coaches are giving away all of their money to these people so that they can get this magical formula. And the fact is, it's just an oversaturated market right now, and it's not a good market to be in from a financial standpoint whenever it's that oversaturated. Every niche is oversaturated.
Yeah.
And so, because there's just so many of them out there, and to me, I wasn't making an impact anymore. I might have, with my clients or the workshops that I ran and those kinds of things, I was making an impact maybe on a small scale with a small few amount of people, which is always fine. I don't have to be Tony Robbins, and I didn't have to be out there for that kind of thing. But I wanted to spend my time making the impact, not spend my time trying to recruit people to let me make an impact for them. If that makes any sense.
That makes perfect sense, Joe. That makes perfect sense.
I retired from life coaching. I just said, you know what? I'm done. This is a crazy game, and it's not very profitable for the amount of work that I'm doing. And so, what do I like about it? I went back. I discovered my why. I put myself through all the life coaching processes to figure out what I wanted to do. And I realized that what I really actually enjoyed was the teaching moments and watching the light bulb go off, and and actually getting to see the value, at least whenever their eyes light up or something. Which you could, and I got that from coaching, but God, it was a lot of work to get to see that, And now it's still a lot of work, but the impact is more tangible versus the way it was when I was coaching. So.
I got you. Like I can totally respect you for that. Like on a completely different level. Like I can really respect you for that. A knowing when to step out and when to step down, and B recognizing where you can really use your talents. Like that to me, that's a game changer. Like if we could get more people to find their lane, stay in their lane, and to perfect their lane, I mean, damn it.
Well, you speak of it being a game changer, it's true. Whenever you're standing there, I've stood as a life coach, I'd stood in front of hundreds of people and put on presentations and did motivational speaking kinds of things, right? And that doesn't compare to the fear you feel the first time you stand in front of just a classroom full of teenagers that have behavioral issues who are just looking at you in your rookie year as a teacher wanting to say, no, here's my fresh meat.
I remember what we did to our first year teachers. And yeah,
Yeah.
it was, yeah. Oh, I
Me too.
remember.
Me too. And by the way, I formally apologize to all my high school teachers for everything I ever did.
The one that we probably did the worst to, I actually fell in love with her, and I went to her, not like in a crazy way, but like she became a very good friend of mine. And I drove from Tennessee up to Illinois for her wedding. Like it was the craziest thing ever. But they were so mean. Well, I'm not gonna say they, but we were so horrible to her. Like it was just crazy. But I love her. Like I feel completely in love.
Sure.
And I still love her to death today. Like I love her completely. Like we're still friends. But it was just crazy. Okay. So let me dig into your mind just a little bit,
Sure.
especially now that we know of knowing of the reason why you kind of step back from being a life coach. Like I'm like my mind is still just blown off of that. By the way,
They're
but,
everywhere. They're everywhere.
And they
Everywhere
are.
you turn, there's a life coach. Yeah.
But today, and this is the crazy question, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. It may even be a little bit dark,
Okay.
but in your personal opinion, do you believe that people have to suffer in order to grow?
It's, that's a highly debated question these days.
I know.
Yeah. Do I believe that suffering needs to come to grow? Yes, and no. I mean, yeah. I mean, there are certain experiences that I think could be avoided and us still be able to grow. But at the same time, we if we don't feel if we don't feel a certain amount of suffering, then we lose motivation. And if everything was peaches and cream all the time, you'd get bored. We would. I mean, how many people, they want that big 60-inch TV, right? That's the best thing in the world. They get it. 6 months later, they forget it's, they until it's football, they forget it's there. I mean, geez, it hurts their eyes to watch a movie on it because everything's so big. But but when football season comes, hey, they remember it now. But it lost its appeal. And if everything was great and happy all the time, we would lose our appeal. So, is suffering necessary for us to grow? I think so. I think it requires, I think it motivates us. I think it motivates us to move in certain directions. It can also certainly hold us back too if we have that, depending on a person's mindset. But at the same time, yeah, I think it's helpful for us in our growth. Yeah,
I got you. Okay,
but you can still grow without it in certain experiences. I mean, sometimes people experience things that
my spiritual mentor, he had an issue with the word suffer. And so, and a lot of people, and which is why I kept the word in the question, and because it is debatable, completely debatable. And I've had people on that has been on both sides of the fence. And so, I really wanted to know your opinion, and especially dealing with the students that you're currently dealing with, And I can only imagine that you've seen all different types of backgrounds from that. So again, I was really, really interested in your perspective of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of the suffering some of those kids go through is not necessary.
Yeah.
Because other kids make it in life just fine without it, right?
Right.
But it's not necessary, it's not mandatory. But I tell you what, whenever you have kids that go through these kinds of things and they do turn it around and they do make themselves into a success in whatever endeavor it is they do, whether they get it together academically or whether they, go off to some kind of trade school, whether they start their own business, no matter what they do in their life when they get out there, when the tough times hit, they can handle it far better than the people who didn't experience suffering along the way.
This is true.
They can be like, been here, done this, I can do this all day, let's just keep moving. And they don't let it take them down, and they don't let it stop them because, they've
I
already
gotcha.
suffered. So yeah, I think they can handle it better when the hard times
Okay.
hit.
Well, speaking of handling things, what is the scariest thing that you have had to face?
Oh wow! In my life, that's going back a ways.
Oh Lord, oh Lord.
I probably the scariest moment in my life. I'd have to go all the way back to whenever I was in the army. Right after
Okay.
high school, I went into the army, like we had talked about
Mhm.
early on. And man, I'm going to date myself here, but that was in the late '80s, right? And
Oh, okay.
so yeah, I'm 48. But I was like 18, 19, or I was, yeah, I guess I was about 19, and it was Panama in 1989. Manuel Noriega, Operation Just Cause. We went down there and we
Okay.
overthrew a
Okay.
government,
Oh,
and
gee. Oh, this sounds like so much fun.
well,
Oh my gosh.
call it
Oh,
what it is.
Jesus.
We
Whew.
some people say we were defending freedom. We overthrew a government.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
uh, we the combat, it was scary. It was loud. It was the very first time I'd ever been put in a leadership position, and I'm put in a leadership position in a combat zone, expected to lead guys who were actually older than me.
Hmm.
And but it worked out. Oh man, it was scary though. That was the scariest time of my life. I was scared for two reasons. I mean, my main number one reason is I just didn't want to get anybody killed, anybody on my team. I mean, I'm a brand new squad leader here. I'm
Yeah.
barely figuring out my own job at this particular moment. And I just didn't want to get anybody else killed. That was a big scary thing for me. And then it's unbelievably loud, and
Mm.
I mean, just the sheer volume of combat of that whole thing. That's what I remember the most about it, was just how loud it was. So,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
that was probably the most scary time of my life. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's brighten it up just a little bit.
Okay.
What made you laugh or smile today other than me?
All right. All right. One of the kids at school today was just being a kid,
Okay.
15 years old or whatever, and some of these guys are kind of smart asses a little bit, which is
Of
fine,
course. I mean, that's what you do.
this kid was being a smart ass, and he was like, so he's like, how come we can't smoke weed? And I was like, it's illegal, dude. And he goes, so what? They send you to jail, right? And it's like, yeah, you get caught, you could go to jail for it. And he's like, but you can get weed in jail. And
Oh
it
my
just killed
gosh.
me. It just floored me. It was hilarious. And I was just like, all right, you got a point, kid.
Oh my
Now go back to
gosh.
doing your work.
Oh my god.
But it was, at the time he said it, it was just in the look on his face. It was just hilarious. He was just, but you can get weed in jail.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Out of the
gosh.
mouths of babes, right?
Say that again.
Out of the mouths of babes.
Like just oh my gosh. What you know what though? I could see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. Okay.
So
Okay.
that made me smile. I didn't let him see it, but
Oh.
whenever he went back to his table, I'm
You
dying to
never
know.
let you never ever let them see that. Ever. Like you cannot. You
Yeah.
cannot. You have to turn away or excuse yourself. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what has probably been your biggest accomplishment today? What do you feel is your biggest accomplishment?
Ooh. Jeez. I successfully raised 3 kids to adulthood without them going to jail or getting in trouble, and just having a normal, standard, regular childhood. And half of that time period, I did that as a single parent. So I think
Okay.
that's a pretty big accomplishment.
That is a damn big accomplishment. Huge. My mother did it, and it's and we were 8. My sister and I were 8 years apart, and it was only 2 of us. And I know my sister gave her hell. I tried my best not to, but I was the smart aleck of the family. So yeah, I love to talk, and I love to prove
Were
adults
you the
wrong.
older one or the younger one?
I'm the baby.
Okay.
I'm the baby. I am the baby. But I was one of those people that you couldn't be mad because I was right. You
Right.
know, and it's just probably I probably shouldn't have said a lot of things, but you're kind of like, now, damn, like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I yeah, I get that.
yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, me neither. I sympathize with it though, because
Yeah.
I'm kind of that way. I'm always right. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't until I met my husband that I determined that I'm not always right. Okay, like like I would give my opinion on something, and in my mind, that was the end all be all. Like that was
Sure.
it. Like, why are we even
Sure.
still having this conversation?
Right. Oh, that was
But
me totally when I was
oh
younger.
man,
Yep. Absolutely.
man, life has really changed. Like it's been interesting. Well, I got one final question for you, Professor
All
Joe.
right.
How do you define happiness and success? I know for a fact that it's drastically different for everyone.
It is.
But what does it look like for you, and how do you define it?
Okay. Well, I don't associate happiness and success together.
Okay.
Because I think that you can be happy and not be successful. And I think that a person can be highly successful and not be happy.
Okay.
So I don't associate them together. How I define success is, I see a lot of people put these big, heavy definitions on it. And a lot of times I think they have a hard time living up to their own definitions of success. And a lot of gurus tell them that that's the way to go. And a lot of spiritual people on the other end tell them that's not the way to go, and that kind of thing. And I prefer to keep it simple for myself. So my definition of success is the achievement of any goal or task that I'm attempting to do. If I achieve it, I'm a success, right? I mean, I don't need to put this big, massive thing on there to build my ego up to being a success.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't have to, if I fail to live up to that, I also don't need my ego crashing down to the floor either, right? And so what I do is I look at it realistically, and I try to make my basic definition, it's the accomplishment of a task or a goal that I set out to do.
Okay. So, and what about the happiness portion?
Happiness to me is when you have that feeling of fulfillment, whatever it comes from in a person's life, where you have the feeling of fulfillment in whatever your particular cravings may be. For some people, happiness might be running a successful business, and whenever they feel that they are moving towards it. Happiness, they find, often is in the journey. And I believe that completely, that the happiness is in the journey part of it, because that's where the doing takes place. And the doing takes place during the journey, and that's the doing is what makes you happy. So to me, as long as I'm doing whatever it is I enjoy, whether it's my dreams and aspirations, or whether it's, Netflix binging Walking Dead or whatever, kind of thing, then, hey, I can be happy with that, and it's just the fulfillment. And you can't sit back and wait on that fulfillment. You got to go get it. You got to go fulfill it. You got to go fulfill yourself, and if I feel like Netflix is going to fulfill me at that particular moment in time, then that's what I'm going to do. Or if I want to go to work, then I go to work.
I have to work. I don't have an option right now.
I mean, I don't have an option on that either, but fortunately I like my work, so it's never a problem.
I really love that you said that. And because it's my definition as well of happiness. And I've seen a few other people answer that question the same way, but it makes me feel a little bit closer to that person. But that is literally that's my definition of happiness. I love the journey. I don't mind accomplishing a goal. I love to accomplish a goal, But I love the journey. Like I'm starting to take great pride and just, I don't want to say ownership, but I'm consciousness of
Yeah.
where I am in this exact moment. It's starting to mean much more to me. And
Yeah.
oh man.
Yeah. And well, we have to be mindful of the moment, I think, because that's the moment, not mindful of being mindful of now. Now is the only place, the only time that actually
That is.
exists, you
That
know?
is.
And if we spend our time dwelling in the past or thinking too far ahead into the future, basically we remove ourselves from the now. And when we do that, we cease to exist. I mean, if you think about it in an existential sense, because the only time is now. So if we're there, how can we be here, right?
That's right. Like
And
that is
so I
absolutely
prefer
right.
to be now. Now is when everything is happening.
I 100% agree. I'm not gonna cry. Like I am not gonna cry. I am not gonna cry. I don't know what it's been. I've been so emotional lately. But I don't know. I'm loving the journey, and
Yeah,
it's taking me through some things, and I'm
yeah.
just letting it be.
The journey's
Okay.
awesome. It's the doing. That's what's important. Yeah,
All
I think.
righty then. Well, Professor Joe, is there anything left that you would like anyone else to know, or any type of insight that you want the audience to hear?
Um, no, I mean, no, just uh, always approach. My advice for everybody, I guess, would always be to approach everything you do with a beginner's mind. If you, no matter what it is, even if you've done it 1,000 times, approach it again with a beginner's mind, because when you approach things with a beginner's mind, it is open and it absorbs, and your mind learns, and you learn, and that's the way to go. It's what helps you um, grow.
Yeah,
And so always keep a beginner's mind. We don't all know everything.
at all. I love that. I love that, and that's a great place to end. I love that. I love it. Well, Professor Joe, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Um, and I'm almost 100% certain that people are going to get so much value out of you, and not just because you are a former life coach, but man, like you're making a difference.
Oh,
Like
well,
you are
thank
making a
you.
difference, and like I don't know any of your students. I've just recently run across your page, but it's a vibe that I'm feeling,
Thank
and
you.
I'm going to run with it. Like I'm
Thank
going
you.
to run
Thank
with
you.
it.
Well,
Okay.
your vibe is awesome as well, man. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
All righty. Well, in the words of Norman Lear, I love him to death right now. To be continued. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks again, Professor Joe.
Thank you.
All right.
OMG. Okay, you totally just received some excellent knowledge, and I know that you loved it. If you did truthfully love it, I need your help. By all means, share this podcast with everyone that you know. Don't hold all of this knowledge to yourself. We need your ratings, we need your reviews, we need your comments, and we need your shares. But only share it, only comment if you received some damn good knowledge today. I know that you did, so I'll wait on your reviews to start coming in. Okay, until the next one. See ya.